hello, hello. I am so
Oh,
excited to be here every single Wednesday. This is like one of my most favorite moments of the week to come here and bring to you incredible guests to talk about the wisdom from within. And it is all about really connecting to that, not only hearing it and connecting and feeling the wisdom, but relying on it as a source of guidance and understanding about what it is that is right for us, what is aligned. It is information. You know, there's so many people that just ignore the wisdom, don't look at it as information and messages. So that is what this time is all about. And I'm so excited to have Michael here. Yay. 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 What an incredible soul that I met. Let's see, a year or
almost. Yeah, it was about a year ago. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
almost. It was like March we met at Amber's event.
Right.
Right. And Michael, like right away, we were in the room and I saw you and we just like connected and we had that whole beautiful experience together. Talk about wisdom from within. There was just like this beautiful energy and connection. So I would love for you to just share who you are as opposed to me just reading your bio. Really like who you are, what you stand for, the work you're doing is so beautiful and really speaks directly to this mission about empowering people to connect to the wisdom from within. So I'm going to let you just share a bit about yourself and the connection to that theme.
Excellent. Thank you. First of all, thank you. I'll tell everybody I love me some Jen. Like from the minute that I saw her in the room, it was like our bodies were talking to each other from across the room. It was like we needed to connect. And until we physically got to hug, that was when like the real explosion happened, because I too believe that your body is such a messenger of truth. And so yeah, I'm Michael Mamina. I'm a master life coach. I'm a certified alignment guide. I've been doing my own inner work for, many years, but have been truly in the life coaching space and the alignment guide space for about the last 15 years. Alignment actually came just about a year and a half ago. But the life coaching space for me was something that I knew something was really off in my life. And I knew it because it showed up in my body in so many different ways. First, it was a physical thing where I had this huge amount of extra weight around my body and I wasn't letting anything in, right? So that was part of my journey, was that I needed to take this inner journey toward me and allow my body and myself to actually get into alignment and communicate. So I did work with a life coach for a good 4 or 5 years. And I had never heard of what a life coach was, quite honestly. I'm like, I don't know what a life coach is, and through doing that work with him, I was able to tap into aspects of myself that I never thought was possible. I didn't even know it was inside of me to be able to really get to the heart of what was really holding me back in my life. And when I was able to actually do the work with him, Jen, then I was like, you know what? I would love to be able to offer this to other people, to support them in taking an inner journey, but I don't know how to do that either. So I decided to become a life coach, and I studied to become a coach, and I did the work, and I had been doing it sort of as a side gig, right? For my big corporate job, that the world saw me as this thing out in the world, right? Like this big, successful, creative guy doing all this great stuff, but inside something was still not right. There was still something inside of me that I knew needed to be uncovered.
So that's the part I'd love to hit pause for a second and have you talk about. What does that mean? Like, how did you know? Because there are so many people that ask me about, well, what does that mean? How did I know? How did you know something was off? Or how do I know something is off? How does my body speak to me? How do I know? So I'm curious what that was for you. How did you know it was off? And then how did you know that you were in alignment? What was your body saying? What were the signs, sensations?
So quite honestly, what happened to me, it was a physical thing. I started getting pain in my stomach, and my body was responding to food in very unhealthy ways.
Yep.
And I was very lethargic. And I realized that I wasn't paying attention to me. I was paying attention to what I wanted the world to see.
Right.
And so my body started saying, wait a minute, I always say that, like, if you don't pay attention to your body, it's eventually going to knock you over,
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened.
Screaming, essentially. It got to that place of,
right.
Yeah.
And I was, this was like 30 years ago, and I was like, I have got to do something. Something has to switch.
Yeah.
And I realized that I needed to wake up to me. And when I started then doing all this inner work, that's when I really clued into that the barometer, like, as it's our truth barometer. It tells us what we need. And the beautiful thing was that I also learned that I can communicate with it. Like, I can talk to it.
Yeah.
I can work with my body to heal it and to love it and to turn the attention onto me.
Onto you.
So that's a pinnacle moment that allowed me to move forward. So I don't know if I answered your question specifically.
No, you did. You did. There's just so many incredible, like, nuggets that I want to grab. And because ultimately, right, the people that are listening, I want them to be like, first of all, I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking, okay, this resonates. Like, this is the story piece is going to land. Someone's going to listen and say, oh my God, that sounds just like me. And then you said, then I started doing the inner work. And that is what I want to know about. I would love for you to share, what did that look like? And is there a tangible practice that people can do to create that connection and to start hearing the wisdom inside of themselves? Yeah. So what did it look like for you? Yeah.
So I was very fortunate to be led to a weekend workshop called The Shadow Process by the late Debbie Ford. And in that workshop, again, I was like, I don't really know why I'm really here, but I was called to be there. Right.
Yeah.
So in that workshop, I realized that the biggest issue I was holding was that I didn't love myself. And that I wasn't okay with who I was, even though outwardly I put on this great facade.
Right.
So in that workshop, then I did connect with a coach, as I was saying before, and I worked with him to truly learn to go inside. Yeah. And that's why, I always say, you don't have to do this alone, and it doesn't have to cost millions of dollars. You can find someone to support you to learn how to take that inner journey inside. We live so much here in our head, but this was where my answers were.
So how did you find them? Like, do you have a tangible tool that really worked, where you're like, here, I mean, I'm sure there's a whole host of tools, but what's something that someone's like, oh yeah, I want to listen to, I want to do that inner journey? What would be a good place to start?
Well, I actually read one of Debbie's books, which was The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And it essentially talks about these shadows that we have, that we hold on to. And those shadows become our navigating system in our life. So if we can uncover the shadows, if we can understand who they are, what they are, then we can actually transform. So by looking at what were the beliefs that I was holding about myself, that was my key. Like, that's where we say, it's like, well, what can you do? You can really start with some introspection. You could start with a little bit of meditation. Like, I do walking meditations where I check in with myself, like every single morning, and just say, like, so what's going on today? What do I need? What is the love I need? And I've now incorporated, since meeting my friend Jen and other people, what does my body need? What is the love that it needs from me today? And that's where I'm saying it's that give and take. It's that conversation that you can start to have. That's simple ways to just tap in to something that I know for me, and maybe for a lot of other folks, I ignored for a good 20, 30 years. Like, I don't need this. This is just a meat suit. Well, it's a really important aspect of the totality of who we are.
Yeah. First of all, I love the walking meditation because there's a lot of people that are like, I can't sit still forever. Meditation, right? So the walking meditation is beautiful. So you ask those questions, and how do you receive those answers? And what if you don't hear anything?
You know, well, how do I receive the answers is I do now have this sort of dialogue that sort of comes through to me. Like I sort of
Right.
call them like, you know, emails from the universe, if you will. And it sort of downloads into me.
Yeah.
And I'm able to have a conversation. And let me give you another tip on that. If, for instance, you know, the walking thing or the regular meditation thing doesn't work, what I used to do is I would take out a notebook and I would literally write on the top of the page, what's going on right now for me? Like, why am I so stuck? And I would just free write. I would flow and suddenly I noticed that there was this conversation happening where I was able to tap in and get answers. Like I would physically know and I would sense, oh, whatever it is trying to take charge of the paper, if you will, and give me the answers that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So I know some people call that like automatic writing or free writing or whatever it is, but it's all here. If you really ask your heart, like, you know, if you say, oh, I can't get an answer, then I would say, well, what if you could get an answer? What would that answer be?
Mm-hmm.
How do you really tap in? How do you get, you know, I always say it's only a 12-inch journey, but it's one of the hardest journeys is getting from here to here. And yes, our head is important and our brain is important and it helps us on so many levels. But I believe our true answers or truth is here, because if we can ask ourselves, you know, what is it that I truly need? What can I give to myself today? The answer is right here. So I can get that communication flowing when I'm doing my walk.
Yeah.
Or as I said, I started by like writing and asking the question, sort of like a journal prompt, but not really. I was like, I want answers, you know, like I want results here.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was starting to get all of these answers.
So beautiful. I love that. And I also don't know that I acknowledged how profound it is that you shared around, you know, that disconnection so long ago when you really felt wounded and not loving yourself, and that pain that came with that. I can only imagine. And I also understand to a degree because I had my own story and my own disconnection, reconnection journey. So I get that. And I'm curious about, you know, you know the source, you started doing the work, you did the work with Debbie, right, and her program. You go into the work, you start working with a life coach, you start hearing, listening, practicing, tuning into the body's wisdom. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how that reconnection and healing happened for you to then come to this place of, I'm imagining, and I know you now, it seems like you have nourished and healed those wounds to now love yourself. And what does that look like and feel like in your body now?
You know what it is? There's a word that I like to use. You know, it's like people are like, oh, I'm looking for happiness and I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. Like what I'm looking for is peace. So what it looks like in my body, what it feels like in my body is peace. And when I don't feel the peace, that's when I know, and I acknowledge it actually as my signal of, okay, something's out of alignment, something is calling for my attention. When I don't feel the peace, and that's my barometer, if you will, my peace barometer, if we want to call it that. Like I go, okay, so what do I need to regain my peace? What's not working? Is there a boundary I need to set? Is there a conversation I need to have? Is there something that is incomplete that I need to complete? And a lot of this, you said, well, how do I get to that? Well, the beautiful thing was that, and I know you're familiar with Nancy Levin. Nancy is one of my mentors and one of my friends, and she picked up a lot of Debbie's work after she passed. So I've been working with Nancy and all of the amazing tools within her life coaching world, her program, that basically said, it's time for me to turn the light on me. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm dismissing the rest of the world and the people out there. What it means is that when I show up healthy, physically, mentally, when I show up in my true self, if I can love myself, I could be an example for others to take the journey as well.
Mhm.
When I work with my clients, I'm not doing the work for them. I'm holding space for them to learn that it's safe to go inside, and we take that journey together, and the answers lie within, because then they could be the example that they want to be in the world. It's not
Yeah.
about getting the big goal. It's about, what do I want to be? How do I want to be? Why do I want to be what I want to be in the world? Because if we
Mhm.
can come from a place of why versus what and how you get there, we can come from that why to, to expand joy or peace or
Yeah.
happiness or acceptance or love or blah, 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 you name it, whatever, inside, everyone knows what they truly want and truly desire, if they allow themselves to tap into that into
Yeah.
their heart, into their heart space.
I
That's
love that.
my journey. That's how I got there. And now I love it. Somebody called me a love pusher, because
Ah,
what I do is I just try and push love out into the
I
world.
love that.
I do too. I want a t-shirt that says love pusher, but we're all love pushers. We
Oh
are.
my gosh.
Yeah, you could be a joy pusher. You can be a peace pusher. You could be whatever, because the world is desperately needing us, each other, to step in and be here for each other. And that's what I
Oh my
love about
gosh.
what you're doing, is you're teaching people, I got to get here first. And I got to listen to all those signals and those signs that are in my body.
Yeah.
Because so many times, how many times I've done it 100 times, where it'd be like, why didn't I just listen? And instead, my outcome was not what I wanted, even though I knew, like, I've got to do this. I have to finish this right now.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, myself included, until I realized, is that, that we're not taught that it's wisdom, that it's intelligent, that it's truth. So we tend to ignore it, because we're told oftentimes, you're too emotional, you're too this, you're taking up too much space, you're thinking this, and it's very, we live in such a logical world, and there has not been a lot of space for the emotional world. But I think it's shifting. I
I
think
do.
embodiment and alignment are becoming words that people are understanding and accepting. And the truth is, too, what I've been talking about and thinking about so much recently is this AI world, and how incredible it is, and what an asset and what a tool. But the truth is, it can do a lot of that logical thinking for us, but it can never do the emotional feeling. And that
Correct.
feeling is the wisdom we need to have and create those embodied leaders for our future, right? We need to lead from that wisdom, that emotion, that intelligence. And so I love what you're doing, because it really sets the course and puts people on the path to do just that. But they need to get there first. People are just learning. So I love what you said about defining your word, which is peace, and that being your barometer. I just love that for people to get to the one word and then check in with themselves to see where they are. And if they're too far away from that word, yours is peace, then they know there's some work that needs to be done. I love that. I love, how do people get to the word?
Well, again, I would say either by, doing that journaling, or, sitting quietly, listening from within.
Yeah.
And for some people, that might feel so foreign and so
Yeah.
strange, and like, I'm not going to do that. But,
Right.
like, if you really can just, it's like a muscle. Like, when you learn to, like, give yourself 2 minutes, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't have to be hours that you have to sit, or walk or write or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
The way you do it is by really opening up the line of communication with your body,
Mm.
with your heart, because your heart is, within your body. It's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when you can get to that point of communication,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I think you will naturally start to feel the feels. And
Mm-hmm.
the challenge is that, so much of what you had just mentioned when we were kids, we didn't want to feel the feels, because especially the bad feels that we identified as bad, if you will, or challenging.
Right.
So we push those to the side because we don't want to feel the feeling. It's not even so much that we're upset, but we don't want to feel being upset.
Mm-hmm.
So when we can learn to accept that every emotion is a signal, just like when our body starts telling us something, our emotions or feelings are the same way. And what I like to say to clients is, you have emotions and feelings, but you are not your emotions and your feelings. So have them, use them as your guidepost to say, something's not right, something's off. What do I need? How do I turn it on to me? Not what can I get from someone outside. External validation is not what I'm talking about. It's what can I give myself right now to regain my inner peace? Oh, I need 5 minutes by myself. Oh, I need to just sit here in my car and scream. I need, like, whatever it is, we have the power to create that communication vehicle if we start to allow ourselves to really start talking. And I keep pushing here, pointing here, because I really believe that this is where your answers lie. That was the big key for me, Jen, was that when I thought it was like, oh, someone's going to help me, or, oh, my therapist is going to help me. And yeah, they were helpful, but the person who helps me the most is me.
Yeah. There's something that I would love to explore a little bit. You mentioned, we are not our emotions, and I do feel that to a large degree, we are. Like, when I'm sad, and when I'm angry, I'm angry, and when I'm joyful, I'm joyful. And I look at them, these parts, as parts of ourselves, almost like little people inside of ourselves with their own personality and their own being. And so it makes up all of who we are. And sometimes the joy or the fear or the whatever the emotion is at the forefront, kind of having the loudest voice that day. And so I'm curious to know what you think about, leaning into those parts, because they are they make up who we are. That's what makes us so beautiful and vibrant and intelligent. To lean in with curiosity to understand, which speaks to what you're saying about, like, what do I need today? It's like, what do you need, anger? Like, what do you, as cheesy as that sounds, it's the truth. And it's how we learn the deepest parts of ourselves and what those parts need. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. And I think we're essentially sort of saying the same thing in just a different way. Exactly. Because when I say, like, we are not those things, like, we have those things.
Right.
So they could be little, I love that there are little people running around inside of me.
Yes.
Right. But I am not just angry.
Exactly.
So many people take on the, like, I am just sad, and they're going to stay in the rabbit hole of sad. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have the feeling.
Right.
But it's also consciously choosing to have the feeling. Like, once you have the feeling, to have the consciousness around it, to say, I am sad, or I am angry. What do I need to support me right now? And it could be stay in the sad, stay in the angry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what you need. So I love this, and I say this very often, and I learned this years ago from someone else who said, the big question is, okay, so I'm angry. Am I controlling it, or is it controlling me? Because if you are controlling it, then that's something that you can shift. If it's just controlling you, then you're out of control.
Yeah.
And that's when then, things will happen. You'll trip, like, there will be things that, like, you'll fall, or whatever it is, or you'll mess up, or you won't be in your right mind or consciousness. And that's being out of alignment also. But that then is when you could stop and say, so what do I need to look at this anger? What is it trying to tell me? I often will say to clients, if your anger, and it sounds a little cliche, if your anger had a voice, what was it trying to tell you?
Yes, I love that. Giving it an opportunity to speak and share vulnerably. I was just.
Here's the thing I want to say quickly. Don't make it the chairman of the board today. If it doesn't need to be. Sometimes it does. Sometimes, you need to be angry. You need to go out and be angry, and that's okay. But again, you're controlling, our
Right.
totality is what's controlling who we
Right.
are, not
Right,
one.
exactly. I love the pointed questions, and I think those are really beautiful, just like around, is it controlling me or am I controlling it? And it could be a combination of both.
Yeah.
Um, and what does it need? Like if it had a voice, what would it say? I was just thinking about a client that I recently had, and she was so angry, but wanted so desperately to feel joy. And she had to let the anger really explode before the joy part could, arrive to the
Yep.
party kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of value in that. Like for people to really, it's what you said really inspired this thought, to really acknowledge, to know that the emotions are not here to harm us, they're here to teach us, to let them speak. And then the outcome is on the other side, the joy, the peace, all of that. The thing that I also would love to just talk about for a little bit before we end, which 30 minutes goes by so freaking fast. It's crazy. But like in this world
Yeah.
of, the type of leadership that we really need to be bringing in this emotional intelligence. We really need to bring our body into the conversation, to allow our body to be the catalyst for us to express and share and learn and all of that. And the way into that sort of embodied leadership is by first understanding that it's a real thing, that these emotions are real, that they are messengers. It is information to show us what it is we want to create for ourselves, our teams, our children, etc. And all of that is really wrapped up in the emotions that we feel and connecting and getting into alignment first before we can go out and lead. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are around that.
No, I think that's 100% correct. I do believe that the way the world is shifting, the way the universe is shifting, the way, humanity is shifting, that the heart-centered leaders, the people who are not afraid to show vulnerability, and I'm talking, it doesn't have to be, the most public figures. It could be on a day-to-day basis. When you can express an emotion of kindness to the person who's packing your bags at the grocery store, like it starts with us, because people always say, well, how do I even do this? It's like, it starts with you. If you can start giving yourself all of those things, messaging within yourself,
Right.
then it's like the pebble in the pond. It's going to go out. So I do believe that, and I have hope that the more people wake up, if you will, to, hey, I have what I need and I want to give it to others, to show that it's okay and that we're not in this alone, because I don't believe that we were put on this planet to exist solo, that we have the ability to really grow and change and create a world that is about awareness, co-creation, love, strength in numbers in a positive, beautiful way, supporting each other. Many hands make easy work, that kind of thing, even when it's self-work, when it's work within ourselves. That's why I say, like, reach out. Before, when you were like, well, how do I start? Well, how about your exercises that you take people through? I mean, just to stop and just connect, or just to feel, or, that's the great, that I know that, like, even in the workshops that we were part of, like, just in those moments was like, wow, that's such a shift. It's when we could build in the pause and we allow ourselves to stop and focus on us and to return to us. That's when then we will find the answers, and then those answers will go out into the world. And I do believe that that is the future of leadership. And, I always say, I wish that I knew this when I was this very high energy, high powered, creative dude out there in the world trying to make a change. I sure wish that I would have known that if I would have just authentically shown who I was and been okay with who I am, I could have made so much more positive impact in the world.
Yeah, but that time in your life taught you so much about
Absolutely.
what it is you need to do, right? I mean, we all are on that journey, very similar to you. We all are moving through, especially in our late teens and early 20s, and even into our 30s a little bit. It's that awakening and understanding. I mean, that's the beauty of life. That's the cycle. That is exactly what we're meant to be doing, in my opinion. I feel like we are put on this planet to come in uninhibited, totally connected, free-spirited, and then disconnect, because our work is to circle back and gain all of that wisdom. And the only way we gain the wisdom and understand how to serve and make the world a better place is by having those early disconnection
Correct.
moments.
Yeah, and that's what it takes us all the way back to when you said, like, what do you do? Like, I can read your bio. Like, for me right now, and trust me, folks, I am not like, oh, look at him, he's so perfect. Like, no, he trips, he falls, he beats himself up. But the beautiful part is that I have to say, I'm very blessed that I have learned to give myself what I need.
Yeah.
And to put me first. And that's a really important gift.
It is.
And that may look like, oh, I may look advanced to other people, but I'm still on my journey, very much so. So what am I doing? Like, what do I do in the world? I support people to open themselves up to looking at themselves in a safe way, to not feel threatened or scared. And even if you do, knowing that, I'm not here to do the work for you, but with you, to get you to what you ultimately want in your life, which is that peace or the joy or whatever it is, until you get there. And look at what's in the way. And again, looking at all those things that were the obstacles or the challenges or the life experiences that got you to this point. There is never, it's never too late. It's never too early, and it's never too late to start really turning the light on you and letting that light just fill you up. Because when you are filled up with light, then you are emanating that light.
Absolutely. Hear, hear. Cheers. If I had a glass of champagne, I would taste you. I love this. I love your heart. I love your passion. I love your work and your story. And I appreciate you. And, I just think it's really beautiful to bring people here that have this human connection. We all have a human connection, but are willing to be vulnerable in their humanity and share their story with the world, because there's someone out there that will watch this and connect with you and say, that's me too. And how did he do it? And how did he reconnect to the wisdom? And how does it serve him? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. And just tell us quickly before we go how people can connect with you.
But you can go to my website, michaelmamina.com, really easy. And you could set up a free call. We can chat. There's this great little assessment thing on 5 ways to sort of start changing your life. That's free, that you can just download. You don't even have to set up a call that way. Or you can find me on social media, Michael Mamina. Also, you can follow me. I'm always giving little tidbits on learning to love yourself. So I love my little motto that I use, or my little acronym, is FLY, which is first love yourself. So always remember to fly and first love yourself.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Yes, you too.
We'll talk soon. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.